In the great times of prophecy, there's high demonic activities. I'd like to start off by saying Barakatah Yahweh, Bahashem Yahushai, Bahashem Rachakodash. Welcome to another live lesson. This is a title that came to me yesterday. I kind of revamped it a little today. It's called In the Great Times of Prophecy, There's High Demonic Activities. And pretty much what you see going on in the world today as the prophecies are popping off more and more, and it's becoming more and more clear what the Bible is speaking of, and the constant edification, exhortations, warnings going out. There's also a high level of demonic activity going on. And as brothers and few sisters' faiths are being increased, through the prophecies, through the words of the scriptures, the demonic attacks are starting to become more and more, more and more intense. Just simple things, and sometimes even not so simple things. And it's just showing that these demons are highly upset at what's going on, and that they can't get a hold or grasp on the elect, and that's their ultimate goal, is to try to, destroy the elect, which they know they're not going to be able to. But this is their job. This is what they do. And their thing is to try to discourage. And if they can't stop you, or if they can't stop us, put obstacles in the way to piss us off and get under our skin, and, have us acting a fool, so to speak. I'll just give you like a little testimony. The other day I was going for a walk, and, the trail that I walk on, it's got to be at least, I say, about 5 feet to 6 feet wide. So, and it's they're bike trails and people walk on it and all that. So I'm walking on the right-hand side, going one way. And then if somebody was walking towards where I'm at, they would walk on the opposite side. So Big Shirley decides she wants to walk her dog, walking towards me the same way that I'm walking on the same side, but she's walking towards me and I'm walking, So she's about 50 yards away. So I said, okay, I know usually people walk their dogs go one way and then they'll pull them over when the people or a bike or whatever's coming, they'll pull them off to the side. So I'm walking, getting closer and closer, and she's still walking towards me with the dog, and I said, you know what? I'm just going to go around because, this ain't this bitch is a straight up demon. She's a demon sent from hell. She was pretty much the violator with a rat that looked like a dog. And so I go around, and as I'm passing her, she didn't say anything. I didn't say nothing to her. I didn't even look at her, but it just felt this straight up demonic presence, this hateful demonic presence, and I went around. So you see, and then these bitches wonder why, men, or people in general are sick of this bitch. The bitch is just evil for no reason. She's just an evil bitch. She could have pulled a dog to the side and walked on the other side. Like I said, it's about 6 feet of a trail, but she has to walk right directly where I'm walking, and she won't even budge. And I'm like, all right, cool. So this is just a small, example of how demons are operating, and then I didn't think about it at the time, but recently, the Spirit has been on Elder Apostle Gabar to get me to speak on about the Edomite thing, so on and so forth, and which I believe in the Spirit that video helped a lot of brothers and few sisters out there that may be going the same thing or may actually look like these other nations, and that was a great boost you know, faith wise for certain brothers and sisters. Just me reasoning now. And, you know, and them demons don't like that. They like to have you fester in doubt, have you fester, you know, and thinking evil about brothers. And then after I'm thinking about a particular brother in my mind, thinking all kind of evil thoughts about him, getting mad at the brother, you know, and then I'm like, wait a minute, man. I started rebuking them demons, you know, and I'm see, this is nothing but the fucking devil, you know, just doing what he's doing because their whole thing is to try to throw us off our pivot, so to speak. But Spirit and power, Yahweh Shem Al Shai, we're going to proceed on. And as you see the prophecies popping off more, you know, the demonic activities are going to continue to increase, you know. Now, one of the main prophecies that we see happening right now, you know, outside of the is the collapse and the downward spiral of the American Empire, which is Babylon the Great. So a couple of precepts came to mind. Last night, based on, you know, this demonic activity, but I'm not sure those. I'm just going to go on the Spirit, you know, and just part, and then as the Spirit gives me utterance, I hit other points. But the main scripture that came to mind earlier was here in Revelation chapter 18, because Revelation chapter 18 is pretty much a blueprint or a diagram or a description of the destruction of Babylon the Great. But within the destruction, it actually, you know, gives us a blueprint of as we read here in Revelation 18:7, how much he hath glorified himself. Who? America, Babylon the Great, that harlot, right? How much he hath glorified himself and lived deliciously. See, so they live in lavish, extravagant, right? It says so much torment and sorrow give her. And that's what's happening right now. You know, the Lord is breaking the system down, but eventually the missiles and the lasers from the chariot are going to bring that torment, which is the same, which is similar. I'll say it's a similar torment that Esau is going to, and the nations are going to receive in the kingdom. Hence, the torment or the place of torment that the rich man suffered in the parable of Lazarus and the rich man. But America is going to be like a fire from the missiles and the chariots, and then when Esau and the nations get into captivity, their fire is going to be a different type of fire. You know, it's going to be, you know, constantly, you know, kicks and punches to the mid-structure. You know, and then eventually after 1,000 years, the Edomites will suffer that bonfire effect. That's the documentary right there. The bonfire effect. All right, so it says, for she saith in her heart, I sit a queen, and am no widow, and shall see no sorrow. And this is the sentiment of the average American. I was watching this video of this Edomite, which I actually sent to the elder Apostle Tahar. And he was doing a video, or what appeared to be Edomite. It says, this is what always happens before a superpower falls. And I was watching it, you know, he was, you know, going in. Dude's name is Nolan Matthias. He was going in, but towards the end, he's saying that, you know, well, you know, there's going to be, you know, it's going to probably be two superpowers, America and China, you know, and America still has a good 40 to 60 years left and blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, see, these devils, they're always going to try to keep hope alive, you know. So that's why it says here, I sit a queen and am no widow and shall see no sorrows, because they think, matter of fact, Matter of fact, let me get Psalms, which just popped in my head. Barakateh Halbashim Shai, because I wasn't even thinking about the scripture. Psalms, the 49th chapter and the 11th verse. It says, their inward thought is, meaning in the seat of passion, the innermost thoughts, in the subconscious of the mind. Their inward thought is that their houses shall continue forever. So they think that they're going to continue to rule. Even though they might lose a little bit of status, they might, fall on the ratings. Instead of a triple A, you might get a double A or a single A or whatever the case may be. They think that they're going to continue to rule on and on and on. And then he spoke about, the same individual spoke about the great collapse of one of the greatest empires to ever rule, the Roman Empire. But then he's saying that America is still going to be up there, with China and blah, 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 blah. Because I watched damn near the whole video, or most of it anyway. It says their inward thought is that their houses shall continue forever, and their dwelling places to all generations. That's why what they have is they have a nest egg. A nest egg is savings or generational wealth, so to speak, which Jake is trying to get for the far off. This is why when the Rothschilds set up businesses, they set up businesses, hundreds of years into the future. Because they understand, unlike vocab, they understand reincarnation. And what they do is they train their sons on how to run the business of the family. They never train the daughters to run a business of the family because they know that business will be bankrupt in 2 weeks. Just like when they was the family of George Bush Sr., that devil, they said, no, what are we going to do? Are we going to make him, someone to take over the family business? He said, oh, no, oh, Lord, no. I believe Eustace Mullen said that because we'll be bankrupt in, a couple of years or a couple of weeks or however he put it. So that's how the bankers feel about their daughters. They will never put their daughters in a position of power as far as their businesses are concerned because they know that it's not going to go anywhere. So what they do is they train their sons on how to run the business because they know, and they teach them to keep it in the family because they know that in doing that, that's going to pass on to the next generation, to the next generation, to the next generation, and eventually those devils will come back in the reincarnation through that family line and be put right into that same wealthy, legacy, so to speak, demonic legacy that they left. All right. That's why it says that the inward thought is that the houses shall continue forever and the dwelling places to all generation. They call their lands after their own names. And that's why after the total annihilation and destruction of America, they're not going to be able to have any heirs, sons, nephews, none of that to continue on the name of Esau in the rulership of the world, because Esau is the end of the world and Jacob is the beginning of it that followeth. So going back to Revelation chapter 18 and 7, how much she hath glorified herself and lived deliciously, so much torment and sorrow give her. Right, because they're going to be tormented and in sorrow, because you have to remember, they stole, scraped, robbed, raped, murdered, all the way to the top. Let me know, let me know if anybody can hear. Can hear. Let me know if anybody could hear. Yeah, it's just okay. Cool. So the brother said we back. Satan, hey man, what can I say? Hey, what can I say? Hey, it is what it is. All right. Nevertheless, telling me your connection isn't private. Yeah, Blue Letter Bible is trying to hack your computer. Oh yeah, sure. Let me X out of that. Let me try to open this up again. There we go. All right, now. Was that the 7th verse? Yep. Wanted to go to the word queen before we were rudely interrupted. The prince of the power of the air. So it says Basilisa, right? Because you have Basileia, which is king, and Basilisa is queen. Right here you have Basileo, reign or king, queen. All right. So this is the sentiment of Esau. I sit a queen and am no widow and shall see no sorrow. So before we read on any further, what I'm going to do is we're going to go to the book of Isaiah 14 first to show you that when you read the scriptures, there's a lot of private, mysteries, symbolisms that the scriptures speak about, in parabolic forms. Okay. So it says, Isaiah 14:4, that thou shalt take up this proverb against the king of Babylon and say, how have the oppressor what? Ceased. And that's what's happening. The Lord is cutting down your time. The golden city ceased. So what I want to do is I want to look up the word ceased. The word ceased in both cases, the word Shabbath, which means what? Rest. Shabbath. To cease, desist. Cease and desist. Let me see if it'll come up this way. Cease, desist. Cease and desist letter is documented sent by one party. Is a document sent by one party, often a business, to warn another party that they believe the other party is committing an unlawful act. And that's exactly what the Lord is telling these devils. Look, you, my prophets, go out there and tell these devils that they're going to have to cease and desist because they're committing a fraud on the world. And that's what James, the 5th chapter, is about. All right. It says such as copyright infringement, and that they will take legal action if the other party continues the alleged unlawful activity. Right. You lied to the world. You're telling them that you're the Most High. You're telling them that plantation Christianity is the way. Cease and desist, because the Lord is about to judge your ass if you don't. And what they do, they're like, we ain't listening to y'all. Okay, good. It says the letter may warn that, and we're reading the letter, right? We're reading from the letter. If the recipient does not discontinue specified conduct or take certain actions by deadlines set in the letter, the letter's recipient may be sued. See? So how in this case is going to be what? Judgment brought upon them. So the Lord is telling us to go out here and tell these devils that the Lord said and commanded us to use a proverb and tell the king of Babylon or America in general and say, how have the oppressors ceased? The golden city ceased. And when you look up the word golden city, it means exactress of gold. You could also use it in the context of this place being a place where the world was looking at, even now, Venezuelans coming up here. And the reason why they're coming up here is because their country is 3 times worse than what the depression was to America. And that's why they're coming up here to live a better life. They're looking for better opportunities. You see? So this place is ceasing from that, because as they're coming up here and they're giving them all these benefits and they're printing all this money, is causing the economy to collapse more and more and more. But all they see is the opportunity to get this money. Now, a lot of them, when they came up here, they thought, they may have thought that the streets were paved in gold, like many others did. But then when they get up here, they said, man, I'm going back to my country, man, because at least down there I was able to eat, or whatever the case may be. The climate up here is a lot different than it is down, in Venezuela. It may be a lot different, especially like if you go to places like in the Midwest, Chicago, where it gets really, really, really cold, So the Golden City ceased. So let's go from there to Isaiah, because we're building on this devil saying that they sit a queen and am no widow and shall see no sorrow. Isaiah 47:1 states, come down and sit in the dust, O virgin daughter of Babylon. The dust represents what? Confusion. And what's happening is that their way and mode that they ruled, everything was clear because, they were making things happen. But now that they're coming down to the end of their rule, things are looking hazy. They're not looking as clear as they were in the past. The vision isn't as grandiose as they made it to be or thought it was. So the Lord is pretty much chopping them down. And sit in the dust, because you no longer have the authority, or you will no longer have the authority or the power to rule like you've been ruling, to be able to call the shots. And that's why all of these different nations are backing, slowly but surely backing away from you, still making money off of you, but making other deals with other nations and how to trade with those other nations and cut the U.S. out. Babylon the Great. O virgin daughter of Babylon, right? Because it's not Babylon, it's not the Neo-Babylonian Empire, it's not the Babylonian Empire, it's the daughter of Babylon, which is a creation, a mirror. Let me see something. Now, this is dealing with Israel, right? But I want to show y'all something. Ezekiel 16:44. Behold, everyone that uses Proverbs shall use this proverb against thee, saying, as is the mother, so is her daughter. Even though this is dealing with Israel, we're using it for Esau today, because America, Babylon the Great, is acting just like ancient Babylon and a lot of their ways that they're operating. All right. There was another one. Okay. Let me get this over here so I don't forget. This is Jeremiah. You know what? It's either the 50th or the 51st verse. I mean, the 50th or the 51st chapter. Yeah, this appears a lot of times, but I know it's Jeremiah 50 or 55. Let me try the word. Jeremiah 50:12. Your mother shall be sore confounded. She that bare you shall be what? Ashamed. Behold, the hindermost of the nations, which is America, shall be what? A wilderness, a dry land, and a desert. So as the mother is, so is a daughter. America is Babylon the Great. She's acting just like her mother. It says, and then the mother here is dealing with England. Because you got to remember, all of these different, these so-called European empires were mirrored, when you look at them, just like the ancient Babylonians, the ancient Egyptians, the ancient Sumerians, so on and so forth. So it says, your mother shall be sore confounded. This is dealing with England. England is the mother. America is the daughter that England is going to be confounded by. She that bear you shall be ashamed, and they are ashamed of you. And then the scriptures speak about your allies looking down upon you with disdain, because like it says in Daniel 7, her look was more stout than her neighbors. Behold, the hindermost of the nations, which is America, this is the hindermost part of it, shall be a wilderness, which is all the way over here on this side of the world, a dry land and a desert. This is the furthest you can go, west. And this is where the great devastation and destruction is going to take place. And it's going to take place not just in the Western hemisphere, in the Northwestern hemisphere. That's why it says, it shall no longer be said, the Lord liveth that brought up the children of Israel out of the land of Egypt, but the Lord liveth that brought up the children of Israel from the land of the north, and from all lands where they have been scattered. So this is that place, the hindermost of the nations, America, Babylon the Great, in the westernmost north, westernmost in the north. This is where we're at. All right. It shall be a wilderness and a dry land and a desert. Okay. So as is the mother, so is her daughter. This is dealing with Israel, but we're applying it to America in the sense of, her acting like her mother. So Isaiah 47:1, come down and sit in the dust, O virgin daughter of Babylon, because America has never been touched by a major war, on the soils of America. You had the civil wars and all that stuff and things like that, but never like a major war, like a world war or anything like that. You had the Japanese that bombed Pearl Harbor, but that's offshore, So there was never like a major war in this country like you had over there in so-called Europe. Sit on the ground. Why? Because you no longer can call yourself royalty. Because you thought you were going to sit as a queen forever, but now you're going down. There is no throne. There's no more rulership. Why? Because the Lord chopped that down from you. Isaiah 14:5, the Lord hath broken the staff of the wicked and the scepter of the rulers. So as we see these prophecies coming more and more to pass, and brothers and sisters' faiths are being built up, do you also have these demonic spirits, activities acting up? You see? Hope it makes sense, So it says Isaiah 47:1, in the middle, sit on the ground, there is no throne, O daughter of the Chaldeans, for thou shalt no more be called tender and delicate. Tender! Inside joke, and delicate. All right? So you're not going to be pampered anymore like you were at one time. Take the millstone and grind meal, because now you got to work. At one time, these devils was getting paid off of the backs and the sweat of Jake. Now a lot of them got to actually go and work. And these different jobs that, at one time they could, they were able to collect money from the backs of Jake. Now they got to actually get down and dirty in the trenches, right along, with the nations and Jake and all of that. So they're not able to benefit like they were at one time, because these devils, they at one point they didn't work. Uncover thy locks, make bare the leg, uncover the thigh, pass over the river. So basically, your nakedness is being made known. Isaiah 32:11, which this is dealing with America, but you could also use this for the woman in general, especially the Judite woman. But Isaiah 32:11, tremble ye women that are at ease. So America is at ease, or was at ease, but now they beginning to tremble. Be troubled. Why? Because the Lord is shaking, he's shaking his hand over you. Ye careless ones. And this is the same thing we read in Revelation chapter 18 and other places. Strip you and make you bare. Meaning, the Lord is stripping you and showing the world your shame. Remember, it said that the Lord is going to spew shameful spewing on your glory and gird sackcloth upon your loins. Sackcloth represents what? It represents mourning. All right, that was an ancient custom for mourning. People would throw dust in their on their hair, men would rip out their beards, cut their hair, throw dust on their head, put on sackcloth as a state of mourning, being very low in the spirit. So you are being made bare, and the Lord is saying, gird sackcloth upon your loins, because you're going to go down in the worst way. And that's why the nations are going to mourn when this place goes down, because they're not going to be able to make any more money off of America. So going back to Isaiah 47, right? And 3, thy nakedness shall be uncovered, yea, thy shame shall be seen. And that's what's taking place right now. The shame of America is being shown. And everywhere you slice it, just like when they took over during the Renaissance and they couldn't hide all of the icons that were out there, the so-called black icons of the Lord and of the Messiah, of the angels and the Israelites and all that, they can't hide all of the shame that their forefathers committed in getting this land, from the taking, robbing the land, pillaging, raping from the so-called North American Indians, the Seminole Indians, and the Mexican Indians, which is Gad, Reuben, and Issachar, to everything else that they've committed, the frauds that they've committed, slavery, and all of that. So it's overwhelming, and you're being uncovered. And anytime you try to, get on a nation and try to tell them about the injustices that are going on in their country, they'll shoot back at you and talk about slavery, talk about how you took this land from the so-called North American Indians. So that shame is constantly being thrown back in your face. I will take vengeance and I will not meet thee as a man. This is Yahushua. Because when Yahushua comes this time, he's not coming like a man like he did 2,000 years ago. He's coming in his majestic power. As for our Redeemer, Yahweh of hosts is his name, the Holy One of Israel, sit thou silent. So now you sit your ass down, go somewhere. Why is it telling them to be silent? Because at one time, let's see. In Daniel, the 7th chapter, one of the traits of the ending of the Roman Empire in these times, which is through America, is that they would be talking a lot of shit. Daniel 7 and 8, I considered the horns, and behold, they came up among them another little horn. The horns represent the so-called common market, 10 horns. Well, you had America that is a union of those so-called European nations, and they came out of that union. All right. It says there came up among them another little horn. That little horn is America. The horn represents power. When they came up, they were a small power. They really was insignificant. But then they continue to build and build and build and build, and look at the great military and power that they have today. So much so that nations were horrified to mess with us, especially after they dropped the bombs on Hiroshima, Nagasaki, and other places in Japan. And when Russia saw that devastation, they quickly hurried up to build up their arsenal as far as their nuclear capabilities were, because they saw that. So no one was able to stand against America at that time, or NATO. That's why it says no one was able to make war against the beast. It says, before whom there were 3 of the first horns plucked up by the roots. Right, that was the British, the French, and the Spanish, right, which were the main holders of this country before the so-called Americans took over. It says, and behold, and it says plucked them up by the roots. Why? Because they completely routed them out. You had the War of Independence, which was against England. You had the Spanish-American War, which was against Spain. And then you had the French-Indian Wars, which were, you had the French and Gad joining up against Esau, to fight against Esau. And then they got taken out. And what happened was But Napoleon was fighting in so many wars, and he was so tied up financially that he didn't have time to fight wars to keep what he had here in America. So that's when he sold America or Louisiana back to America, the Louisiana Purchase. And those quarters that were held by him were transferred over to, to America, so that he can receive that money so he can continue his wars where he was at. You see, so there's a lot of history. It says, and behold, in this horn were eyes like the eyes of a man, representing wisdom, knowledge, wisdom. It says, and a mouth speaking great things. That's America, a mouth speaking great things. That's why here, when the Lord knocks his hoe off of her throne and sits in the dust and exposes her, the Lord says, sit thou silent, shut your big ass, slutty ass mouth. Because America's been the main vehicle on the planet to cause all these nations to follow behind their demonic agenda. And you're seeing a lot of these nations acting just like America. For what purpose? To receive, benefits from America, receive funds from America. It says, and get thee into darkness, right? Because you're not going to have any more answers. O daughter of the Chaldeans, once again, you're the daughter of those ancient empires. For thou shalt no more be called the Lady of Kingdoms. See? Why? Because America is the one that rules over all of these nations. Let's go to Revelation 17. This is more like an advanced class, but sometimes you need that meat. Revelation 17:18. And the woman, which is when you go up to the top, it's talking about the harlot that sits upon, many waters, which are nations, tongues, multitudes, and is carried by the beast, which is NATO and the EU. And the woman which thou sawest is that great city which reigneth over the kings of the earth. And anybody with a half a brain would have to agree that, America is the governing power over all these different nations. At this point in time, now they're losing that status, but they had that for a long time, especially when they made the dollar, the world reserve currency. All right. And the reason why I call it a city is because it's a great city, a huge city. And America is a huge city, because when you are born in America or naturalized here and you go abroad, what do they call you? A U.S. citizen. What does the word citizen go back to? The word city. All right. So this is a mega city. That's why it calls it Babylon the Great. A mega city, not just a regular city, like New York City or different cities around the states of America, right? It's talking about a great city, a big city that rules over the kings of the earth. All right, and that's why they make their money off here, and they're gonna cry when this place goes up in smoke. Now let's go back. So end of the verse 5, for thou shalt no more be called the Lady of Kingdoms. I was wroth with my people. I have polluted mine inheritance and given them into thine hand. Right, that goes for Gad, Reuben, Issachar, Judah. You put hell on those 4 tribes. And now the other tribes are here, you still do the same shit to them. Thou didst show them no mercy. And what does the scripture say? He shall have judgment without mercy that has showed no mercy. Upon the ancient hast thou very heavily laid thy yoke, even upon the old men. And you've heard, Elder Apostle Tar speaking on how you call the old jakes snowball, which is a derogatory term. It was racist. It says, and thou saidest, I shall be a lady forever. See, then we read that in Psalms 49. So that thou didst not lay these things to thy heart, neither didst remember the latter end of it. So you didn't consider that these actions of yours would bring the total annihilation and destruction. Therefore, hear now this, thou that art given to pleasures and that dwellest carelessly. And this is the same thing. Isaiah 47 in certain aspects reads like certain parts of Revelation chapter 18, which we were reading earlier. Let's bring it over here. Revelation 18:7. How much she hath glorified herself and live deliciously. Is that not what we read here in Isaiah 47:8? Therefore, hear now this, thou that art given to pleasures that dwellest carelessly. Back here, Revelation 18:7, how much she hath glorified herself and lived deliciously, so much torment and sorrow give her. For she saith in her heart, I sit a queen, and am no widow, and shall see no sorrow. This is the same thing we read in Isaiah, the 47th chapter. Therefore shall her plagues come in one day, death and mourning and famine, and she shall be what? Utterly burnt with fire. For strong is Yahweh Bashem Yahushai who judgeth her. And that's why this place is going to be judged. So the middle of Isaiah 47:8, thou sayest in thine heart, I am, and none else beside me. I shall not sit as a widow, neither shall I know the loss of children. You don't think you're ever going down. This is why you have these economic, pundits that'll talk about the downward spiral of America and losing its power, but that if they do this and then they can get that and they can turn it around, and then no, you're finished. You've run your course. You've been weighed in the balances and you've been found wanting. And now it's time for you to pay. It's time for you to go down. Empires rise, empires fall. It's your time to fall. And after your fall, no other nation is going to take over your position except for Yahushai and the nation of Israel. And that's the bottom line. That's the future. The Israelites, so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native American Indians are going to take over the planet through the spirit and power of Yahweh Bashem Yahushai. Because America is destined for doom, and they are destined for destruction. It's prophesied, and you can't turn that prophecy around by adding laws and taking away from the scriptures. You ain't gonna stop the prophecies. All right. So it says, but these two things shall come to thee in a moment, in one day, because it's going to take 1 hour. So you see how Revelation 18 and Isaiah 47 mirror each other. Verse 9, it says, and the king, Revelation 18:9, and the kings of the earth who have committed fornication and lived deliciously with her. So not only did they take the money, they also took on those nasty customs in certain cases. Not all of them, but certain ones of them. And if they didn't take on the nasty customs, they took on the democratic customs, because they had to do something to be able to receive the benefits from America. It says, shall bewail her and lament for her when they shall see the smoke of her burning, standing afar off for fear of her torment, saying, alas, alas, that great city Babylon, that mighty city, for in 1 hour is thy judgment come. As we read here in Isaiah 47:9, but these two things shall come to thee in a moment, in one day, the loss of children and widowhood. They shall come upon thee in their perfection, for the multitude of thy what? Thy sorceries. You have the people under a spell. This is why you have your entertainers, your entertainment world, and your movies and different things that you put out there, magazines, and then your entertainers, which are low-level witches, casting spells on the people, bringing them into that darkness. Like the Nippler. Y'all know who the Nippler is, right? I'm not talking about the Diddler. That's his ancient name. I dubbed him the Nippler. And for the great abundance of thine what? Enchantments, sorceries. How can people not? Well, because they're blinded. I just about to ask a stupid question. How can people not see this? It's because they're blinded. Fucking Nippler, man, that demon. Kashap, which is witchcraft. Sorcery, witchcraft. The fucking Nippler. And down here it says sorcerers, because America is known as a what? As a woman. That's why it calls her the mistress of witchcrafts. What is a mistress? A feminine way of saying master. So America is the madam of witchcraft. She is the madam of witchcraft. She is a madam of sorceries and enchantments. She is a mistress or the madam of incantations. All right. For thou hast trusted in thy wickedness. Thou hast said, none seeth me. Thy wisdom and thy knowledge, it hath perverted thee. See? Because you got those ancient ways from the ancient nations, and you didn't consider that these nations are no longer around. Their empires fell. You didn't consider that if I follow their ways, will I not fall too? Because the things that they did, they weren't able to continue. They lasted for a little while, but then they fell. That's why the Lord calls you the basis of men. And thou hast said in thine heart, I am, and none else beside me. Therefore shall evil come upon thee. Thou shalt not know from whence it riseth, and mischief shall fall upon thee. Thou shalt not be able to put it off. And desolation shall come upon thee suddenly, which thou shalt not know, because it's going to come out of nowhere, and you're not going to be able to pay your way out of it. You're not going to be able to dodge it. You know? And the nippler, he gonna catch hot ones just like you gonna catch hot ones. And all of those demons that were partakers in that whole freak fest, from your talk show host to your pork chop eating preacher in the pulpits, to all of those demons that's been out there, your politicians, your presidents, vice presidents, whoever was involved in any of that. They all gonna catch hot ones, like if they was Mexicans. Inside joke. Stand now with thine enchantments and with the multitude of thy sorcery. So, keep on pushing that bullshit. Have the nippler get up there and do some, or Beyonce or one of them demons get up there, or some of your top witches among your council of 13, and have them keep putting up these incantations to see if they're gonna be able to get you out of this ass whipping that the Lord's going to give you. Wherein thou hast labored from thy youth, right? Because from the inception of America, they've been practicing this. The so-called founding forefathers the majority of them were Freemasons. They were in unity with the French. The French sent over, the Statue of Liberty, the so-called Statue of Liberty. Those are the French Free Orient Masons that sent that over here as a gift to America. And when they set it up, they were when they set it up in the harbor, they tried to find this paint that would not corrode from the water, and the environment that was in, and they wanted to paint it red and purple. And at first they were going to put a cup. It was a cup. The first design was an actual cup, which is heavy, which is scriptural, but then they changed it into a lamp. And then they did, instead of painting it, they left it alone because they knew that over time it would corrode. And it's made out of copper. That's why it's green today, because that's the oxidation of the copper. So there's a whole history behind that. If so be thou shalt be able to profit, if so be thou mayest prevail, thou art wearied in the multitude of thy counsels. And that's why you see these, you don't see it, but the think tanks that they have, they're constantly working. They're trying to work their magic, trying to spark, those ancient, or spark those, past demons that would help them to prosper, which is not helping you anymore, because those demons work for the Most High, unbeknownst to you. Let now the astrologers, the stargazers, the monthly prognosticators, those that read the stars and and give you your so-called horoscopes and the plans for the future, stand up and save thee from these things that shall come upon thee. They won't be able to. Behold, they shall be as stubble, the fire shall burn them, they shall not deliver themselves from the power of the flame, right? Because they're going to be right here in the flames with you. They're going to catch hot ones too. There shall not be a coal to warm at, nor fire to sit before it. Why? Because America is going to be totally annihilated. There's not going to be anything left. thus shall they be unto thee with whom thou hast labored, even thy merchants from thy youth, right? Because even the heathens that made money off of you, some of them are going to be here destroyed, and others are going to flee to their country. They shall wander everyone to his quarter, none shall save thee. Nobody's going to be able to help you. You're not going to be able to bail yourself out of this. There's not going to be a law that you can write into, or a bill that you could pass to make it to the Congress and become a law to help you get out of this destruction that's going to come upon you. And the closer and closer we get to the end, the more and more those demons are ramping up and fucking with brothers and sisters, because their whole job is to try to discourage brothers and sisters not to continue on in the faith, and that's going to escalate the closer and closer we get to the end. You got Jacob's trouble. Then you have, the great time of testing, which eventually is going to culminate with the MOTB, which is the micro CHIP. And man, it's going to get rough. But the Lord said that knowledge and wisdom shall be the stability of our times and strength of salvation. So that's what we banking on. And the Lord said that he said that the angels of the Lord encamp around them that fear him to deliver them. He's going to put the spirit on the angels to be there, and he's going to guide us with his spirit to make it through all of these obstacles that are coming. So we're in a great position. Even though we catching hell, we're in a great position because we're at the point where the hardships and afflictions that we endured in this truth is getting us further and further away from the judgments that are going to come upon the world. That's why it says, despise not thou the chastening of the Lord, for whom the Lord loveth thee, chasteneth and rebuketh often. Because when we're judged of the Lord, we're chastened of him, that we not be condemned with the world. Because the world is condemned. That's what they're going on. That's why sometimes you get mad and pissed off, because like, damn, see, like these motherfuckers ain't feeling it. And they ain't. Because they're going to feel it later. We feeling it now, but what we feeling is the effects of being exercised through these afflictions. So when the time comes, there'll be a force field around us to protect us from these said perils. Now, the only ones of the elect that's going to suffer in it are the ones that the Lord sanctioned to glorify him in that way, to fulfill prophecy. But the rest of the elect are going to be shielded. It's going to be an invisible force field there that's going to back people off. A small example of that is when the brothers were out there in LA and they were speaking, and that mad dog started charging at them. And then all of a sudden the dog and he turned the other way. That was an angel. That was that force field. And the angel that smacked the shit out that dog, make him go the other way. That's like a small example of that great force field the Lord's going to have around the elect when the time comes. And it's coming because of Yahushua said it best, because you have kept the word of my patience. I also will keep thee from the hour of temptation, which shall come upon all the world to try them. And it's coming. And that's why them demons are turning up. Them demons are turned up, and they're turning up because their job is to try to discourage brothers and sisters from pushing forward and to continue on in this fight. And he wants to stop us from encouraging each other, encouraging ourselves, and when you're in a low spirit, another brother may be in a high spirit, and he'll jar your spirit. But them demons are trying to stop that. You see? Because they see everything, all the prophecies just popping off everywhere. And there's nothing that they could do to stop it. See? Beautiful. Nahum 1:7, the Lord is good, a stronghold in the day of trouble, and he knoweth them that trust in him. Beautiful. That's right. Yep. 1 Timothy 6:12, fight the good fight of faith, lay hold on eternal life, whereunto thou art also called, and hast professed a good profession before many. And this good profession is the words of the Lord's patience. Patience means to suffer. We suffered the humiliation, the ridicules, and all that comes, and the false witnesses, and the tale bearing and all that other madness. So the Lord said He's going to protect us in this time that's coming, while the ones that were mocking are going to feel them flames. So with that, I pray that you brothers and few sisters have been edified. You can read Ephesians, the 6th chapter, which I was going to go to, but you brothers know the scripture. Therefore be strong in the Lord and the power of His might. And then it goes on to say that we don't wrestle against flesh and blood, but against principalities. So when you encounter these situations and these afflictions, whether it's your car breaking down, your woman acting up, whether it's, your job acting up, or you out in the street doing whatever and somebody start acting stupid, know that it's not them. It's some spirits that have been activated in these people to try to discourage us from continuing on in this mission. So with that, I pray that you brothers and few sisters have been edified. To the next time I say shalom.